Welcome back, Commanders. My name is Alchrist, and today I'll be briefing you on your very first T-Doll, Elmo's field leader, Groza. Groza is a bulwark assault rifle wielding frontline support. She is a tank that assists her allies in anything they need. Her kit is designed to be versatile that can add to any team. I will mention that in all my guides I'll be referring to Confector's Index as skill points, since this is much easier to understand. Groza has two methods of generating skill points, starting with a passive, Timely Maintenance. When an ally ends an action within 7 tiles of Groza, she will gain 1 skill point, and will also grant shelter to both her and her ally. Something worth noting is that this triggers at the end of each action, meaning multi-action dolls like Tololo and Ulrid are capable of generating multiple stacks of shelter and skill points for Groza. Shelter can be stacked up to 3 times and prevents losing 2 stability, but a stack is lost after each attack. Groza's damage will also increase by 5% per shelter stack, capping at 15% at 3 stacks. Groza will also counter once per turn if an ally within 6 tiles is attacked, dealing physical damage equal to 80% of her attack and reducing 4 stability. Groza's second method of generating skill points is the active skill 2, Perfect Cover, which has a 2-turn cooldown. She immediately grants 2 stacks of shelter and defense up to all allies within 6 tiles. She will gain 1 skill point for each ally she buffs. This will also allow Groza to counterattack up to 3 times this turn. Groza's basic attack is Fire Command. It has a range of 7 tiles and deals physical damage equal to 80% of her attack and reducing 4 stability. Groza's active skill 1 is Heavy Suppression, which costs 1 skill point. It has a range of 7, dealing physical damage equal to 130% of her attack and reducing 5 stability. This will also apply movement down debuff on the target for 1 turn. This reduces their mobility by 2. Groza's ult is Explosive Bombardment, which costs 4 skill points. She can select an enemy or a tile within 7 range, dealing AoE physical damage equal to 90% of her attack, and reducing 4 stability to a small 3x3 area of the selected tile. This will also apply movement down to all enemies hit for 1 turn. When deploying Groza onto the field, the key element to playing her is positioning her between her allies to provide buffs. She will thrive more by being surrounded by her allies. She has great survivability thanks to her consistent shelter buffs. Put her on the front line behind cover so enemies struggle to break through. Meanwhile, she has great stability damage, so utilize her active skill and counters to break through enemy defenses to allow your DPS to get their damage out unhindered. When it comes to her basic rotation, you want to use her active skill 2 on cooldown, so on turns 1, 4 and 7, granting defense up on the team and herself. Aside from that, use her kit based on the situation she is faced with. Use active skill 1 for single target or to break through stability, or use ultimate on groups of enemies or enemies hiding behind cover. You'll have a 1 turn downtime on the defense buffs between active skill 2 casts. You should never get to a point where you need to use basic attack. As long as you keep allies around her, she'll always have skill points. On to her pros and cons. Because of her balanced kit, while also focusing on drawing in aggro and absorbing damage, she can fit in any team that requires a 4 slot. She can counter up to 3 times a turn, which can trigger action supports. Her attacks also reduce a lot of stability, and her fixed keys make it even more versatile, applying extra buffs and debuffs for the team, and even taunting enemies. As for her cons, she is a bulwark doll, so it's to be expected, but it's worth noting that her damage isn't going to win any awards. Her skill point generation is based on having allies around her, which is something to factor in with turn order. She has no phase elements. As with most physical only dolls, she lacks phase weakness bonuses. Groza's signature weapon is locked behind the battle pass, the Guerno. It has attack boost, and grants a random buff if Groza has a full HP at the start of a turn. Cooperative Warfare increases damage and healing dealt by 5% for each ally within 5 tiles, capping at 3 allies. If there was at least 2 allies within range when she attacks, she gets to move an additional 2 tiles. Having allies around her is something she should naturally be doing. If you don't have the battle pass, you can use the Golden Melody. It has attack boost and the same assault rifle trait, granting a random buff at full HP. Its effect charging grants 10% increased damage. She won't benefit from the second effect as Groza doesn't have any action supports. If you don't have either of these, you can use her namesake, the OTS-14. Its trait recovers 1 stability if Groza has at least 3 stacks of shelter, and its effect, Adversity Reversal, increases her damage of her next active skill after gaining a stack of shelter. Her attachments are for the Bulwark archetype, focusing first on attack percent, and then defense, and then HP, and then attack. When it comes to which attachment sets to farm, use Ally Support Set. When she uses the active skill 2, she will apply area defense buff to allies for 2 turns. This reduces AoE damage by 20%. You can use Ultimate Pursuit or Physical Boost as filler if you haven't farmed ally support. When it comes to affixed keys, the best ones to obtain are 201 Multi-Dimensional Assessment. She will apply defense down and attack down for 1 turn when an enemy is stability broken. To clarify this key, since it's kinda vague, Groza has to be the one to break the stability. It won't work if they're already stability broken or an ally causes the stability break. Next is 603, Principles of Invasion. If she becomes stability broken, she will immediately recover 20% of her HP and 5 stability, as well as removing 4 debuffs. This makes it even more tanky, but only triggers once per battle. For a last slot, use either one of these depending on the content. 403, Firepower Superiority. If her active skill 1 breaks an enemy's stability, she will apply Taunt to them for 1 turn, which forces them to use basic attack on her on the next turn. Or 203, Controlled Advance. Her active skill 2 will now also grant an attack up buff. Use this in boss fights, since they're immune to Taunt anyway. Fixed keys 401 and 601 are situational and are not recommended for a core build, but they can be used if you want to increase her durability further. Her common key is Sustained Endurance, which grants health boost, and while she has shelter, she cannot be moved by displacement skills. Other common keys she can steal is Sabrina's Hot Oil Protection, increasing defense, and while using targeted damage, it will apply movement down. She can steal Siomi's Mission Blessing. If her HP drops below 80%, she gains 40% bonus defense for 2 turns. This can only happen once per battle. Macchiato Survival Instinct works. If Groza's HP is above 80% at the start of the turn, she will reduce 2 stability damage from the first attack. Otherwise, any common key that increases defense or HP will work. Next, we'll have a quick look at the Fortifications. At V1, if her active skill 1 breaks stability, she will gain 1 skill point and recovers 4 stability. At V2, her active skill 2 will instantly recover 5 stability. At V3, her ult now hits at 100% of her attack. At V4, her passive now applies attack down on the highest attack enemy within 7 tiles. At V5, the movement down caused by her ult now lasts 2 turns. And at V6, while she has shelter, she negates a point of stability damage. To finish off, we'll have a quick look at suitable teammates to food along Groza. Since Groza has high stability damage and wants the stability break anyway, she pairs well with Mosin. She can pair with QJ since her counter attacks can trigger her action supports. Tololo's multi-action turns can help fast stack Groza's shelter buffs. And Vepli does more damage against enemies with movement down, which Groza easily applies. Otherwise, as mentioned, Groza will fill any 4 slot of any team setup. Here are some examples of team compositions. And that about wraps up this character briefing for Groza. I hope this guide helps, and if you have any other suggestions on a build of teammates, make sure to leave a comment below. Until next time, Commanders.